Trial of Sekhema, only costing a single Exalt for a run, is one of the easiest ways to turn Exalts into Divines. Hey, I'm Cycle, and in this video I want to share with you the following things. The ways you can farm currency with Trial of Sekhema, a 3-stage plan to utilize relics to make the runs incredibly easy and actually quite profitable as well, or I would say decently profitable, and how to do the runs, how do you actually run through the Trial of Sekhema to have the most success with it. Now, starting with the first thing, or starting before the first thing, it's important that you understand two things about the Trial of Sekhema. The first thing for the Trial of Sekhema is that it takes some time. My build is reasonably good at it and still takes me like half an hour. So you need to have a build that is reasonably good at it and reasonably fast at it to make this runs in like half an hour. I will be assuming 2 runs an hour for the calculations of profitability for the Trial of Sekhema. The other thing is that you need to be able to kill the final boss. If you cannot kill the final boss, you cannot gain most currency out of this, because all you're going to be getting is some early currency, some lucky stuff early, and then you fail the boss and you get locked out of most profit that you can do with Trial of Sekhema farming. Is out of the way, how can you make actually profit with Trial of Sekhema? And there are 4 things you can do. The first thing is you're gonna be getting relics. Now, first of all, these relics you can use yourself to have an easier time, but also some of these relics sell between 20 exalts and a few divines if they are well rolled, depending on what strategy can utilize them. So relics, selling the relics can already be quite good. The second thing you can sell from the Trial of Sekhema is jewels. You will gain a lot of jewels and time lost jewels. So the radius jewels, the time lost smaragds, rubies and emeralds, and you're gonna get a lot of normal rubies, smaragd and emeralds, which can be well rolled or decently rolled and corrupted, and then sell for again maybe 20 exalts, maybe 50 exalts, maybe a divine. So those can also sell quite nicely. The third thing is you're going to be getting uniques. First of all, the final boss drops a guaranteed unique relic, which could be the, what was it called, something alliance? The Desperate Alliance, which gets you, which nets against the darkness if killed the boss while using this relic, which sells for I think at least a divine. And you can get really lucky and get a Last Flame, which sells right now for 37 divines, but it might go back up again after the recent bug fix that patched a way to generate a lot of the temporales which need that relic to be consumed for it. So you can get some uniques like that, but also you can get Grand Spectrum jewels if you get lucky at the end of the run, which can sell for a few divines as well, or you maybe get a decently rolled rare at the end from a chest, which can also sell for a little bit. And the fourth thing you can make currency with is selling services on TFT. The Forbidden Trove is a Discord where players can sell services to other players or sell items in bulk. I will leave a link to the Discord in the description if you haven't joined it yet. I think a lot of PoE 2 players aren't aware of the existence yet, but the PoE 1 players have been using it for quite a while. So what you can do is, before you kill the final boss, get to the room before the boss, you finish the room, then you portal the town and go back to the Trial of Sekhema. You make a post and you say, hey, I killed the final boss for you. You're gonna get your ascendancy points for this. All points, even if they don't have any ascendancy yet, they can join in, leech the boss fight off of you and gain all 8 points in one go. So if they are missing 2 points or 4 points or all points, they can get them all from your carry. So you make a post, 40 exalts, and you're gonna get your passive points. So you then make the post, they message you, you invite them in, then you go in, they go in with you and wait in the room before the boss, you kill the boss, and then they can go through, get their ascendancy and pay you the exalts for the carry. So if you do this fourth thing, which of course it makes the run a lot harder, because with each player in your instance, the boss gains more health, so it takes more time to kill the boss. So you can get, if you carry 3 people, 120 exalts, and if you carry 5 people, 200 exalts on average out of these carries, meaning that if you do 2 runs an hour, that's up to 400 exalts gained each hour, which as far as I know right now are 4 divines which you can gain each hour just from carries alone. So on top of all the other things you can gain, you could get up to 4 divines an hour just from carries. Now, of course, this means you need a strong build, and I said earlier, this is the easiest way to make Exalt into divines, and you can start it early. So this again, you can do this as an addition on top of the other things I'm going to be sharing in this video. So with this, we get to now, or rather, now that we know how to make profit with Trial of Sekhema, how we gonna get the trials done? What are the 3-stage plan to improve the profitability? So the 3 stages are about the relics used. Once you have killed the final boss once, you unlock all the relic space. Once you have all the relic space, you can start using relics to make more profit from your runs. The first stage uses the 1x2 small relics. They're either 1x2 or 2x1. And if you gain increased quantity of relics found on these relics, or increased quantity of relics dropped by monsters on these relics, you're gonna get more relics from your monsters during the run, but also you're gonna get additional relics from the final boss. And the final boss drops a guaranteed unique relic. If you have 100% or more quantity of relics dropped, you can get a second unique relic from the final boss. If 120% increase more, which I think is every slot filled with this relic and 20% maxed roll on each relic, then you have a chance of up to 3 unique relics from the final boss. Which is pretty awesome. Because those could be the Last Flame, which would be big profit, or could be a Desperate Alliance, which is a small profit. On top of all the chests you get at the end. So this would be stage 1. Stage 1 can then be further enhanced by getting any good other mod such as Honor Restored, Honor Resistance, Movement Speed, Max Life, Defenses, or anything good to make the runs a little bit easier on you. And this is how we can initially generate like maybe 10-20 divines to further improve our build and to further get the next relics for the next stage. It's important here to note that any relic is basically renting the relic. You buy the relics, you use the relics, and when you don't need them anymore, you resell the relics. The great thing here is that usually those relics only increase in value. As more people want them, the relics increase in value. Normally something that makes people want the relics less happens when a change happens, which we only get normally when we get a new league. At least in PoE 1 it's like that. So what I assume will happen in PoE 2 is that any big changes happen, that change the way we want to run Trial of Sekhema. It's only going to be happening with a bigger patch that avoids the previous generation of characters or sets them into a separate league, and you gonna be starting from 0 anyway. So any relic bought to run this can be resold once you are done running these. This is important to understand for the next wave of relics, because the next wave of relics that we want to get is a little bit more expensive. For stage number 2, what we want are very specific 2 modifier medium-sized relics. So medium-sized means 1x3 or 3x1. We are going to be looking for the merchant has 2 additional choices and a combined 51% reduced merchant prices. Now this means we're going to be needing either 1 tapestry and 5 amphora relics, or 2 amphora relics and 4 tapestry relics with these 2 modifiers. The reason we want these 2 modifiers is the following. There are 2 boons that interest us. If we get 51% reduced merchant price plus a boon that further reduces the merchant prices by 50% less, we suddenly have no cost on our relics. Now it is worth noting here that in PoE 1 this doesn't work this way. It normally only reduces by 75% if you combine these 2 things, but in PoE 2 it sets it to 0. Now again, it could be that this gonna get changed, but I think it's only gonna get changed if we're gonna get a new league. So any bigger patches will contain a change to how these relics work. Otherwise, I don't think they're gonna change it, because there have already been a lot of changes and this wasn't one of them. I think this is a pretty major thing if it will not be intended. I assume we're gonna be fine on this relic ways, the way these relics and the boons interact with having free merchants. But we need those merchant price reduction and we need to get that boon. To improve the odds of getting this boon and further profit from it afterwards, we need those additional merchant choices. The more choices a merchant gives is initially just boons, but once we have almost all the boons or all the boons, the merchant is instead offering us relics, and these relics are better rolled the deeper we're gonna be getting into the trial. And these relics could be further 3 merchant choice relics or reduced merchant price relics, which we could get lucky and just get our own upgrades for free from our own runs. Or we're gonna get the previous relics. We're gonna get anything else we can utilize, anything else we can use, or we can sell, and we're gonna be fine. So in this way, the second stage has a bigger renting cost, but again, keep in mind we can just sell them, but the actual running cost is still the same. It is just gonna be that Jin coin with 1 Exalt to do the run. So now we have our good ones. Now we have the merchants, but before we're gonna get to stage 3 and how to run your sanctums, your Trial of Sekhemas, we want to upgrade these relics eventually. Preferably, we want each relic to be 10% reduced merchant prices and 3 additional choices, or at least 4 of them. The reason for that is the third stage. With the third stage, we're going to be adding a little bit more risk and difficulty to our run to massively improve the divines per hour made with Sanctum. We're going to be dropping 1 Amphora relic and 1 Tapestry relic, and instead we're going to be getting 1 Desperate Alliance. The Desperate Alliance of course increases the cost per run. We now need to spend this 1 to 2 divines for the Desperate Alliance relic, but we're gonna be getting a Guaranteed Against the Darkness, which if we sell unID'd sells for I think 4 to 5 divines. So each run, instead of now giving us, we ignore carries, each run may be giving us some profit with relics found, guarantees us a 3 to 4 divine profit based on the cost of an unID'd Against the Darkness. If you ID it and you get lucky, you maybe get even more, but just selling them unID'd is already worth quite a bit. So we can now guarantee at least 6 divines an hour by selling or by buying these Desperate Alliances, running the runs with them, and then selling them. Now these make the run quite a bit harder. First of all, we need the 40% total reduced merchant price, and we need an additional boon, which is the boon that gives us 30% increased effectiveness of our relics on top of the 50% less merchant cost relic to get free relics in our runs, so that we again just can buy all the boons, get all the major boons, get all the easy time in our runs, and also see as many relics as possible afterwards that maybe sell for a few exalts to a few divines. So we need better relics, and then we need the Desperate Alliance, so we have more renting cost and we have a more run cost. But if we do it this way, we have a more profit per run, which means it's just gonna be an overall more profitable strategy. But of course it's gonna be harder as well, because the relic gives 75% less damage taken to a boss and deal 100% more damage. So we need to be tanky enough, and we need to be good enough to dodge some of the boss attacks. We need to definitely be able to do the bubble phase. You likely need a blink setup in your build. And then we also need to be able to do enough damage to the boss to still kill him despite the 75% less damage taken. So the third stage needs quite a bit of investment into the relics, into the runs with the Desperate Alliance relic, and into your character. But if you can do it, it's gonna be a good chunk of profitability. Now this out of the way, finally, how do you need to run your runs? I think regardless of what relic you use, the best way to do your runs is the following. On the first floor, you get as much Sacred Water as you can. At the end of the first floor, you're gonna get a guaranteed merchant. If you're stage 2 or stage 3, you're gonna look for your, generally you look for your merchant cost boon and the increased relic boon, and then you buy as many good other boons as you can. In stage 1, you're gonna be using the Sacred Water you gain for maybe see an additional room ahead, deal more damage, be faster, enemies have less life, enemy has less damage, enemy have less speed, any good relics that you can use. On stage 2 and stage 3 you buy all the relics. Important to note, if you see the relic, the next minor boon you gain is converted into a major boon. If you're gonna get this boon, alright, I keep saying relic but I mean boons. If you get this boon, buy Keep any of the following boons to buy directly after. The dagger that makes the next 10 enemies you hit instantly dead, next room you don't take damage, or the next merchant offer is free. These 3 boons get consumed anyway, so we just consume them directly with the boon that converts them into a major boon, which we then keep forever. So we now have the Sacred Water on the first floor, and end of first floor we gain a lot of major boons, or boons and major boons. And then on the second floor, on the stage 1 run, we just gain more water, more boons, or what we can do now, if our boons are already free, our merchant offers are already free, we're just gonna get all the boons. We're just gonna get as many boons and major boons as we can. And then on the third floor and fourth floor, our strategy changes. On the third floor and the fourth floor, if we see, once we have the major boon that we cannot gain afflictions, or the next minor affliction we gain is instead converted into a boon, we can look for the trade rooms where we have maybe gain a boon or lose an affliction, and in return we gain another affliction, or we lose a boon or something. So it either lose an affliction, lose a boon, gain an affliction, lose a random affliction, gain a random affliction, or lose a affliction, gain a boon, lose a boon, lose a affliction, or something like that. If we can convert the afflictions into a boon, or we cannot gain afflictions, we can use these rooms to remove afflictions we had to take earlier in trade for a really good room we wanted to take, or a path we wanted to take. So with this, we remove annoying afflictions we already gotten that we couldn't get rid of before. We now can get rid of them. And on the third and fourth floor, we also care a lot to gain keys. Now we're gonna see a decent amount of gold keys, we're gonna see a decent amount of silver keys. On average, I think we want to have like 8 bronze, 4 silver, and 4 gold keys at a minimum for the final room. And also we want as many sacred water as possible on the final room, even on stage 2 and stage number 3, because all sacred water we don't use can be converted into random keys. Now we want all those keys to be able to open as many chests as possible after the final boss, to gain as many jewels as we can, and maybe have a chance at getting a spectrum jewel. Now this is for the general run. Sacred water, as many boons as possible, and then as many keys as possible. But there's one last caveat to this. We can still look for as many merchants as we can on our path, where we prioritize keys and we prioritize the removal of afflictions, but we can still take as many merchants as we can in our 3 and floor room, because each merchant is gonna be offering us relics now. Once we have all the boons, the merchant is offering us relics instead of boons. And the deeper we go, the better those relics are rolled. So, those relics could be 3 additional vendor choices, reduced merchant prices, or increased quantity of relics dropped. And those relics we can sell, so we don't need to pick up random relics, ID them, see if they're good, 3-to-1 reforge them. We can just go to the merchant, see any good relics, and buy only the good relics. And with this, we're gonna have our relic gain again. And this means, this is why I think that stage 2 is better than stage 1, because you have extremely easy runs with all your boons. You have extremely easy runs because you gain a lot of major boons. You can see everything. You don't gain affliction. You are immune to hits. If you get hit, you get sacred water, or you can lose honor after you get hit for a moment. There are a lot of benefits of just having all the boons. And you're gonna see a lot of identified relics, meaning you can only need to pick up and stash the good relics, which you can then directly put into a dump tab where you have like 50 exalts each relic and you're good to go. And this is why I think stage 2 and then later stage 3, because it just adds the guaranteed against the darkness on our stage 2 runs, and we're gonna be good to go. Now, all this being said, I likely have forgotten something, I likely have not considered something. If there's anything unclear, if anything is up, feel free to message me via the comments, ask anything in the comments, message me or ask me on Discord via DMs or the designated channel, and I will answer. And if needed, update the description, update or pin a comment if it has a really important key information. All this being said, If you enjoyed this video, if it was informational, I would highly appreciate a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't yet, it helps me grow, it helps me reach more people. And all this being said, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.